Hi everyone, my name is Joy Nettles, and today we're going to be talking about exactly what you see on the screen, making the world a better place your way. Back in 2017, I created my own community service initiative, the Mini Hackathon, and I learned a ton along the way. So I thought now would be a great time to share a talk about what I've learned, how I started, and the impact that I made. And not only the impact that I made, but what you can do with your brilliant brains. So I hope that you enjoy this talk today. Let's get started. All right, for today's talk, I want to take you on a journey. So as I mentioned, I created the Mini Hackathon back in 2017. And I learned things through every step in the process. So I thought it would be a great way to format the talk. Just go from beginning to the end. So what you'll see today is we're going to talk about getting inspiration and getting started. We're going to talk about 3 big lessons that span the whole journey of planning, during the event, and after the event. And then, of course, we're going to bring it home by talking about impact. So I thought it would be important to start with a little bit about who I am. I am going to be talking at you for 20 minutes, so let's get that out the way, right? My name is Joy Nettles. I am currently living in Atlanta, Georgia, from a small town called Darlington, South Carolina. And there are 3 things that I really want you to know before we begin this talk. The first thing is that I am a techie. I graduated from the College of Charleston with a degree in computer science back in 2015. And ever since then, I have been a consultant developer. So not only do I write code, but I also build solutions. The second thing I want to tell you all about me is that I'm an entrepreneur. And I didn't realize that that was something, that was a feasible option for me growing up. I didn't learn this until my senior year of college. But after participating and winning an incubator program, I decided to start my own company, Joy to the World. Joy to the World is all about empowering the world using technology. What that usually manifests as is entrepreneurs and helping them get their digital presence started, whether that be a website or app, whatever it may be. But we also are very passionate about getting other people into tech and entrepreneurship because it has done us so good at Joy to the World. So that's that. And the last thing I want to tell y'all about is that I love education. I love school. I love learning. I'm a student of life. So I grew up in a family full of educators. Shout out to them. And I really learned early on that knowledge is power. And it's your ticket to wherever you want to go. So education is my passion. With all that being said, you can probably guess why my mini hackathon was structured around all of these 3 things. So let's talk a little bit about that. So my community service initiative was inspired by hackathons that we have in the tech industry. So if you're not familiar, basically a group of people come together for 2 or 3 days and they work non-stop all weekend on solving a problem using tech. So hackathons are usually themed. There are prizes at the end. But basically these teams come together and they create a whole app, a whole website, or whatever technical solution they want. And they pitch this app. So I thought this was great because it has elements of both technology and entrepreneurship. And those are the things that I wanted to harp on with my community service activity. And that's where the Mini Hackathon was born. So essentially in this activity, as you see in the video playing here, the kids get in groups and they think of a problem that they want to solve using technology, specifically apps. When they think of this problem, they mock it up using wireframes and they draw out the whole user flow. Once they have this, they have like a paper version of their app and they're able to pitch this to their peers. So this activity gives them a chance to actually build out something in theory, and it teaches them how you can use tech to solve problems, how entrepreneurship is a valuable option, because we talk about money in these mini hackathons. And it's just a fun way to learn about all these things. So that's the mini hackathon in a nutshell. All right. I've been talking a lot about my experience and myself. Let's pass it over to you. So the first thing that you need to do in order to get started is find your inspiration. A lot of times people already have ideas. So maybe you can skip this part. But if you don't have an idea, here are a few tips to get you started. So I like to ask myself 2 questions when I'm trying to come up with a new project. Number 1, what am I passionate about? And number 2, what is my community lacking? If you think about these things, you can really get creative and come up with an idea that solves a problem. So whether you're interested in tech and entrepreneurship like me, or you're interested in fitness and healthy eating, or you're interested in fashion, whatever it might be, I promise you, you are going to be able to give value to somebody by sharing what you love. So I encourage you to think about what you're passionate about and how you can put something together to give back to your community. All right, so at this point, you have your idea, you're inspired. Now you want to get ready to hit the ground running. So in this next chapter, we're going to talk about those lessons learned along the way. I thought this talk would be most beneficial if I just give you 3 big lessons that I learned in the planning phase, during my event, and after the event that I wish someone would have told me up front. So let's get started. All right, so lesson number 1 is go. A lot of times people have an idea and they just never start because it's not the right time, they don't know how to start, they don't have their money up, etc. Take it from me, there is always something you can do. You are all in the entrepreneurship track of this conference, so I know that you can relate to this, but I just want to say go for it. One way that I get things done is by subscribing to Angela Duckworth's goal hierarchy. Now this goal hierarchy, as you see here on this slide, was discussed in her book, Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance. And it's pretty simple. It's a hierarchy, it's a tree. The main rule is that your top level node, that top level thing, your why, is written in ink. This is what you're always working towards. After that, you can narrow down your work into different overarching themes. So these are a little bit broader than your big why, but they are avenues to help you accomplish that why. And then from there, you keep drilling down until you actually get some actionable tasks that you can complete. And what you will see is that as you start knocking out those tasks, you're moving your way up and you're accomplishing those goals. You're getting things done. So I love this goal hierarchy and I apply it to my regular personal goals as well as my projects. So let's talk a little bit about how my goal hierarchy looked for the mini hackathon. All right, so a lot of things going on here. Let's talk through it. You see at my top level, I have inspired a younger generation to choose tech and entrepreneurship. That is my high level goal that I use to guide me on a number of projects. So the mini hackathon was no different. This is what I want to achieve. How can I achieve it? So when I asked that question, I broke it down into 3 main pillars or themes. And these are, I need to be able to, 1, connect with the students. So I thought it was very important to be there physically, to be able to show them my face, give them my energy, and just guide them through anything that they had questions about. Number 2 was showing them that they can do it. This is very important to me because it seems like a lot of times when people talk about getting started in software development or starting their own business, they think that you need to possess some obscure skill set or you need to have $1 million in the bank to get started. And that's just simply not the case. So that was very important for me to dispel that myth while I try to inspire them. Because you can't be inspired if you don't think you can do it. And the last theme that I have under this umbrella is building for the future. So for me, this theme was just about how can I use what I'm doing today to support my ongoing efforts with Joy to the World and inspiring the kids to choose tech and entrepreneurship. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But as you see here, my why gets divided down into 3 big themes. And what I did was start figuring out ways to tackle these themes. So show them what they can do, show them that they can do it. What does that look like? To me, that's a simple, effective workshop. And that's sharing my stories. Boom, okay. So how do you create an effective workshop? Well, first you need to outline all the things, and then you need to get your supplies. And it just goes down and down. And as you can see, the further you go down the tree, the more action mode these things get. They go from like fuzzy, abstract, cute, all the way down to, okay, yes, I can actually knock this off a to-do list. So that's the goal here. I truly believe in this method for getting things done. So hopefully it can help you in your endeavors, whatever they may be. All right, I have one more tip on this note of getting things done, because like I said, planning and starting is the hardest part. Once you get everything together and go to the event, that's the easy part. So when it comes to getting things done, one thing that I learned about myself was that I was really good in school. And not because I'm smart or anything like that, just because school was such an organized, systematic game, okay? You'll get your syllabus and you'll know when something is due. You'll know when you're getting a test. You might get a pop quiz every now and then, but pretty much you know when things are expected to be accomplished. So I take that approach with my projects today. So I highly recommend, once you get that goal hierarchy up and you know your big tasks to hit, map those out in the timeline. So as you see here, this is just an example of what that could look like, but I would definitely flesh it out more. You could start from the end. Like, I know my first hackathon was going to be October 1st. Let me work my way backwards and see what I need to be hitting to get things done. So highly recommend planning out those milestones and those deliverables that you want to accomplish. And maybe get yourself an accountability buddy to make sure that you're staying true to that timeline. All right, so we're at lesson number 2 now. By this time, you should have inspiration for your event. You have a plan to execute and win when it comes to preparing for the event. So now you're at the part where you're running the event. Now I could give you a lot of lessons about facilitating and keeping people engaged, but my biggest lesson about what you should do during your community service event is capture all the data. I'm really big on setting yourself up to be able to do bigger and better things with your community later. So this might be your first initiative and you are on Zoom trying to figure out how things work. Make sure you're running the event as planned and you have your support team and whatnot, but also just make sure you're getting that data so you can set yourself up for success in the future. So if you look on the screen, you'll see a few numbers for me. I'm really harping on this one because this is something I wish I'd done better. So you see, of my 13 hackathons, I had about 500 plus participants, and that equaled about 270 service hours, including preparing, driving, organizing, and making some videos after. Along with that, you even see a fun fact on the bottom right corner, which is my mileage. As entrepreneurs, you know that you're going to do a Schedule C. So all of this time and these miles that you're driving for your community service initiative, you can use that to even help your business. So I definitely think that you should do your best to collect all of the data, because this can only be used to help you improve in the future. So in addition to that numerical data that you want to get, that quantitative goodness, I highly recommend that you take the time to capture the event as well. So this can be videos like you see here, pictures, little interviews with the participants. I think that this is important because, for one, if you're working with kids like I was, they love YouTube. They love it. So it really turned my event up a lot because they were just hyped to be on camera and to be doing something, and they wanted to put their best foot forward. So that was a great trick for kids. But it also is something that you can show your sponsors later. It's something that you can use to market on your social media account. It's just good. You cannot lose with it. And now, of course, make sure you get consent from the students' parents. Thankfully for me, all of the students had already signed their consent forms. So that was good. And I tell you, the schools love this. I had parents coming up to me telling me that they cried watching these videos. So I just think it's a great tool to capture the moment, have it forever, and give you even more content for later. All right, lesson number 3. We're finally at the end of our event. We have worked many hours to prepare. We have successfully implemented the activity, and now you're at the part where you're done. okay? You just gotta finish now. At this point, if you're like me, I'll be honest here, I did this. You might be ready to just be like, all right, I need a nap. I'm kind of done with this for now. But wait, don't do that. Don't do it. I highly recommend that you finish strong and you follow through. So here are 3 tips on how you can do just that. So, number 1, your resources. For me, when I ran the mini hackathon, I had a lot of students that came up with great ideas and had fun throughout the activity, and kind of were like, all right, this was great, and they walked away. But I did have a handful, maybe like 15 to 20, that reached out to me after the event and was like, where do I go next? What can I do to make my app? This was a question like I have answers to, but I don't have the answers that I need to give them to get them started. I don't have the resources prepared. I don't have anything organized. So that was a big miss on my part. I did not take that momentum and keep going for these students. So I'd highly recommend, if you have an activity that like is about education or teaching a new skill, that you have some kind of pamphlet or resource that you can give to your participants to keep the conversation going. Number 2, feedback. Now, we all know those feedback surveys. So whether you're in the airport bathroom and you see the little red, green, or yellow button, or you are at your job and you just keep getting these culture surveys that are so annoying every other month. Let's not be like that about our own initiative. Feedback is amazing, and we should take the time to collect it and consume it, read it, and get better. So one approach I did, as you can see in this video, is I had a wall that was basically, well, not a wall, but a poster board that had what went well, what didn't go so well, and questions. And I had a stack of sticky notes up there, and on the way out, the students would just try to leave a sticky note in all of the sections if they could. And this was a great way for me to kind of see where their heads were at, what worked for the high school students, what worked for the elementary school students, and how I could really pivot and get better. This was great for me as I was on the tour with my community service events, because I would go to one school, get feedback, and be able to adjust before I had to go to the next school. So highly recommend you get feedback. It kind of feeds back into data. You're gonna have all of these great quotes from your participants about how your program went. And like I said, if you wanna do bigger and better things next time that will involve lots of money, this is a great tool to show your sponsors like, hey, I have all of these glowing recommendations about this program. You need to give me some money. All right, so the last thing when it comes to following through, it's an obvious one. You know it, you love it. It's saying thank you. Whether this be saying thank you to your team, thank you to the host that let you use the venue, thank you to your grandma for saying that little prayer for you and crossing her fingers, whatever it may be, send out that love, put it in the air, and I promise you, you're gonna be getting those thank yous back tenfold. Now, it's about time to bring it home. So let's talk about impact. When I think about impact in community service initiatives, I think about how did this affect all of the people involved, the participants, the community, and myself. So first, let's talk about our participants. As you can see here, these are some of the things that I've noticed that participants can gain from any type of community service initiative. So for one, they can gain excitement. I don't know about y'all, but I grew up in a very small town and not much change from day to day. So if somebody would come back and do a community service program at my school or do a little summer camp, that's the stuff that I looked forward to. That's the stuff I remembered. So you're giving them something to look forward to. You're giving them some excitement. Number 2, I'm going to skip inspiration. We're going to save that for last. Number 2, exposure. You are an insider to this thing that you're passionate about, that you're sharing. Whether it's something that you just picked up or not, you are the person that's leading this session, and you're able to impart your wisdom and knowledge. There's nothing like that insider scoop, that insider's look at something. And even if it seems like it's not getting through to them, I promise, if just one person is impacted, that's going to be a game changer for them. And number 3, your participants are going to gain inspiration. Okay? They're inspired to consider something they never considered before. They're inspired to go show all of their friends their YouTube video of them making apps. And just, you never know what you can do to change someone's life. You never know the effect that you're having on someone. All right, next, the community. Of course, the community is also going to benefit by you getting out there and putting in work. It's community service, okay? So two big things I thought of were more role models and increased opportunities. So when I say more role models, I'm talking about you as the expert, sharing your knowledge, sharing your time. People around the community are going to hear about it, and they're going to start to look to you for that cause, whatever it may be. So people back at home are starting to look to me for tech insight, which is huge, okay? I'm becoming a role model in that space. So we need more role models in our communities, especially more diverse role models that are passionate about things that matter. So get out there and make a difference. Number two, you're gonna add opportunities to the pool, okay? In your communities, you are gonna be putting on programs and activities and getting the parents to bring out their kids and getting the teenagers in there and the elderly and whoever it may be. You're bringing these people together and you're giving them something, like I said, to look forward to. So your community is gonna get more opportunities, and there'll be more techies that come out of Darlington, South Carolina because of you. And last but not least, let's talk about you. Because honey, you are gonna benefit the most. Now, you put in a lot of work, you put in a lot of hours, you might have even had to take off some time off of your job. But with all that being said, you're gonna win so much more. Of course, you're gonna get an improved skill set. Even though you're the expert at this thing that you're sharing, you're gonna get better at facilitating, leading, organizing, executing, building relationships. And that feeds into my second point. New relationships are born and old relationships are getting even better because you're leveraging them and you're leaning on them and they are getting something in return. So that's always a good thing. You might find your new calling or get an opportunity to explore a calling that you never knew you had. Well, I guess that's your new calling too. But explore a calling that you knew you had, but you never got to explore. So for me, I've always wanted to be a teacher, but I went the tech route. So doing the mini hackathon gave me a chance to explore what that would be like. And y'all, show some love to your teachers because it's hard. And last but not least, it just feels good. It's gonna bring you joy to do that. I promise you. All right, so quickly, let's recap all the things. We talked about getting inspiration and figuring out where to start and what you wanna do. We talked about 3 lessons I've learned by running my own community service initiative, including strategizing and executing like a champ, collecting all the data, and just following up like you're supposed to do. Then we ended by talking about impact and the benefits to the participants, the community, and you and your wonderful self. So the last plug I want to give is to Joy to the World. So Joy to the World, we have some big goals, some lofty missions that we want to accomplish. And one of those is getting kids coding. And not only just getting them coding things willy-nilly, but getting them to actually rejuvenate their communities by being able to build real websites, especially during COVID-19. We need this. So we are asking for donations so that we can buy computers, so that we can put together some camps and programming to actually get kids coding. So if you're feeling so inclined, every dollar helps. Go to joytotheworld.com/donate to donate today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the end of today's talk. Thank you so much for attending and listening and giving me your time. I know time is precious, especially as an entrepreneur or a boss. So I appreciate you. And the world will appreciate anything that you have to give. So if you have an idea, start on it today. If you have any feedback, you have an idea you want to work on, or any other thoughts, please shoot me an email or hit me up on any of those socials you see below. Again, thank you so much. Hope you have an excellent day. Peace.